Hey guys, Aegis here, and I'm back with another video. This is going to be the start to a series where I discuss how certain changes might alter the canon timeline of the show RWBY. For the first episode, I wanted to start with something a little simple. What if RWBY was more like Qrow? Well, there'd be a few immediate changes to the story, namely that RWBY would have a more grounded motivation for being a huntress. Maybe revenge for her mother, or maybe RWBY just wants to kill all the Grimm she can, or perhaps she just simply comes to mimic Qrow. I think a combination of these might be the best. Her motivation doesn't need to be save everyone, but more save who she can and deal with the bad stuff however she's able to. Now, how much would this change RWBY? Well, she'd be more cynical, of course, perhaps a little less bubbly and energetic. Likely she'd take after her uncle Snark, at least a little bit. But of course, she'd still be kind. Let's play over Volume 1 with this mindset. RWBY encounters Roman, and, well, I don't think much would change here beyond the tiny Red Reaper being a little more mouthy and angry. RWBY meets with Ozpin, and here we start to see the small differences. No kooky sounds or fangirling. Yeah, I see it more as Ozpin speaking with her and her kind of being a little more gruff and a little more choice with her words, so to speak. Mainly telling Ozpin that, that guy's a crook. He tried to rob her, so of course she had to fight him, and she's kind of upset she couldn't take him down. Ozpin would still make his offer, and she'd still accept. Heading into Beacon now, RWBY would get frustrated at Yang for ditching her, as happens, and she would still explode because of Weiss, but that is where the RWBY would drop. RWBY would challenge the heiress then and there, similar to Qrow versus Winter from Volume 3. Weiss would grandstand and espouse her greatness, only to get her ass handed to her by a much more focused and brutal RWBY. A RWBY that has learned to fight mean. Jean, bless the boy, would try to intervene, and Blake would probably explain who Weiss was and snark about her being a spoiled brat. RWBY and Weiss would be separated by Goodwitch, who would be understandably furious at the not even initiated students starting a fight. The four would be dragged to the auditorium, Ozpin would give his speech, and the teens would be allowed change and ready for the night. During this part, RWBY apologizes to Blake and Jean for getting them involved and talks with them for a short moment. RWBY openly states she wants to do what she can as a huntress, save and protect those who she can, but she also states that she knows she'll have people die more often than she'll be able to save them. Blake nods at this and offers a similar sentiment and a sort of condolence to the understanding of how hard their life as huntresses is going to be. Yang tries to play this off and be a little bit more jovial, which is where we get Weiss trying to hand RWBY the Dust for Dummies book, later than in the show, but with the same result, except this time she earns the ire of both a snarky and angry RWBY as well as Yang and her dreadful puns. Lights out for the show as what happens. Initiation is a bit different, and by a bit, I mean a fair bit. When RWBY and Weiss's eyes first meet, RWBY is the first to leave and find Jean, taking the kind boy as her partner. She quickly finds out about his lack of aura, awakens his aura, and very pointedly states she knows there's no way he had proper training, but, being the kind girl she is, makes a promise to keep quiet as long as he's willing to push himself while they're teammates. Pyrrha finds her javelin as well as an irate Weiss, which makes them partners. RWBY keeps Jean from entering the Deathstalker's cave, and the pair trudge on towards the temple, but they still run afoul of the Nevermore. Yang and Blake would still meet up, because I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't, and of course, Nora and Ren are always together. Weiss would brazenly and confidently engage the Deathstalker's cave in an effort to regain some of her lost ego after RWBY had beaten her, much to the chagrin and warning of Pyrrha. Although instead of being ignored like Jean did for just general ignorance, Weiss is ignoring Pyrrha because of her ego. The teens converge on the temple, get their artifacts, and then the battle with the two large Grimm begins. The group makes it to the cliff ruins and soon breaks into their groups. Jean quickly calls out a plan to the girls, ordering Ruby to harass the giant avian with her sniper scythe while he and Blake launch Yang at the beast. Meanwhile, Pyrrha holds off the Death Stalker with Weiss and Ren while Nora brings it down, literally piece by piece. In the skies, Yang is able to damage the Nevermore with a flurry of shots into its mouth and eyes, getting low enough that John and Blake are able to be flung on it by having Ruby spin in place with her semblance and throw them using her scythe as a propelling slingboard. John and Blake drive their blades into the beast's wing muscles, forcing it into the cliff face. Ruby uses the spinning trick again and delivers a swirling stab into the Nevermore's skull, killing it. Nearby, Weiss uses her glyphs to hold the Deathstalker in place so Ren and Pyrrha can cut off the stinger, and then Nora, aided again by another glyph, uses her hammer to throw the Scorpion Grim into the abyss and to its death. They return to Beacon under the praise of Ozpin and Goodwitch. Afterwards, in the auditorium, Ruby, Jean, Blake, and Yang head up to the podium and are named Team Jazzberry, or Team JBRY, led by Jean Arc. From there, the course of RWBY would change noticeably. I see Yang quickly sorting out Jean's lack of training and picking it out of the boy within the first week or two. RWBY comes to his defense, stating that he is their leader and there's no reason he can't improve if they help him. Yang counters that it's all very dangerous and John could get found out soon anyway with how abysmal he is in Goodwitch's class. The two sisters argue for a bit before John simply offers to turn himself in. Before any more nonsense can happen, Ruby finally raises her voice into a deep and sort of almost crow-like growl, saying that there is no way Ozpin and Goodwitch could both be fooled after seeing his obvious lack of training. They have to know, or at least Ozpin has to know, and is likely giving John his shot due to his actions during initiation. She admits it's dangerous, but ends the discussion by saying so is teaching teenagers to fight monsters. From there, we see Team Jazzberry and their sister team, Team PRWN, Periwinkle, go about their early Beacon days fairly similar to canon except for 3 instances. Firstly, Jean will not be a weakling for so long. Blake, Ruby, and Yang start teaching Jean at night, taking turns each night to build him into a more well-rounded fighter. This builds a stronger bond between them due to this personal time with each other as well as the whole team training together. Secondly, obviously, this Jean will not be bullied by Team Asshole. Sorry, I meant Team Dickless. What? That's wrong? Right. Sorry, I meant Team Cardle. Being trained properly, because let's be honest, Pyrrha was not good at training Jean, by 3 of Beacon's best huntresses means he improves just a bit more rapidly, which further means that by the end of Volume 1, Vomit Boy is able to take on Cardin and win. Thirdly, Blake still runs off after outing herself as a former White Fang member, after an argument with Weiss involving the Faunus. But both teams hear her this time, and Weiss very nearly goes to inform Ozpin until Jean offers up his own secret, and Ren adds onto that that Ozpin must know one, so he likely knows the other. And who are they, Ren says, to argue with the headmaster's decision. Weiss quiets and storms off. Jean, Ruby, and Yang thank Ren, then take off after Blake. Pyrrha, of course the leader of Team Periwinkle, asks Ren and Nora to help the trio while she tries to handle Weiss, going off to search for her. From here, the events play out the same, with Blake meeting Sun and the pair investigating the docks. Ruby and John arrive, plus Penny, and help the two Faunas battle Roman and the White Fang. Another big difference is Weiss engages in a conversation with Ozpin. She states she has reason to believe a Fauna student could be an ex-White Fang member, and also says another student entered under fraudulent means. Before saying anything about the allegations, Ozpin has a heart-to-heart with Weiss, revealing how the White Fang attacked the SDC and Schnee family, which Ozpin would obviously know, but he lets her get it out. Ozpin then goes on to say how anyone must be brave to leave such a group, how it could very well have risked their life, how it might still risk their life. Next, speaking of course about Jean, Ozpin says Anyone willing to fight the Grim without training must be bold in seeking glory, but also very, very brave. He asks Weiss that if these two individuals, he doesn't give their names, of course, even though he does know who they are doing and committing such acts of bravery, why should he punish them? He asks how that could possibly make things better. Weiss spends a moment in silence before stating she must have been wrong and probably misinformed, wishing the headmaster good night. At the docks, Blake, Ruby, and John work off each other fluidly. Ruby starts at range from a roof, and Blake shoots from close quarters, the pair peppering Roman while Jean, Penny, and Sun are relegated to keeping the White Fang soldiers at bay. Finally, Jean calls out his orders, and the trap is sprung. Roman gets his cane lodged in Blake's ice clone, and Jean shield bashes and delivers a hefty ox cut into the thief's shoulder. Ruby uses her semblance to grab Roman and flits around with him, slamming him from rooftop to rooftop until she craters him into the dockyard concrete. Jean gives another shield bash, and Roman's aura breaks, allowing Blake to deliver a quick cut to the back of his leg. Roman cries out and drops to a knee as Ruby comes out of her semblance at near full speed and decks the gentleman thief into a shipping container. Blake and John quickly restrain the unconscious man while Penny and Sun finish routing or incapacitating the White Fang soldiers. The group stands triumphant as the Vale Police and Miss Goodwitch arrive. After the docks, Weiss confronts Blake and John, admitting she went to the headmaster but goes on to explain his words as well as her own thoughts. She offers a sincere, earnest apology, and the three of them opt to bury the hatchet for now. Alright, guys, I think we'll end the story here for now, but continue down this road for each volume. Please like, subscribe, and leave any ideas of what you think is to come or what you'd like to see in the comments below. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.